Hello there. This is Phil Dixon and going live tonight. Um, oh boy, trying to get comfortable here so we can talk a little baseball. And this is my conversation that never ends, talking about baseball history. Let me lift my phone up a little bit. Hang on just a second here. I'm going to lift my computer up just a little bit, raise it up just a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. All right. Okay. I think I'm ready now. So, all right then. So, this is the January, actually not January, it's the February 6th edition, excuse me, there, of this day in Black baseball history. And I'm just coming to you live tonight, just talking a little history with you. And so, it's been a great day. I woke up this morning and I decided to call in to Urban View. They were having a conversation about Ken Burns, and I had something I wanted to add to that conversation. So I called in this morning, and yeah, we had an interesting conversation. And at that particular point, he asked me what was my webpage or how people can get in contact with me. And I left my webpage, which is nlbalive.com. And all kinds of people started subscribing and leaving their email so I can send them information. So I'm pretty excited about that. I have to settle down here. It's been a busy day, and then I'll get the information and send people out greetings for following me and things like that. Even had quite a few purchases too, books, things like that. And so, anyway, I'm here tonight giving you my this day in African American baseball history. Of course, you know this is the channel where we have a frank conversation. So feel free to join in. And if you are following this broadcast, always let me know where you're listening from. That's always exciting to me because, hey, I may have been there. I've been touring around for the last 42 years. So there's a good chance I might have been in your town. So all right then, I see somebody said Jim from Boston. Hey Jim, a pleasure having you on today, and hopefully I don't have anything related to Boston today that I can think of, but we're going to go ahead and get busy on the first report. Okay, so we're going to go back to February 6, 1903. A report from Carbondale, Illinois, announced the formation of yet another colored league. You know, there were so many efforts regionally and nationally to put a league of Negro League, or you want to call it. Before the 20s, they were calling the Colored League. So there were lots of efforts to put one together. So this is one early effort, 1903, and this was teams from Illinois. So they had a team in Centralia, Cairo, Illinois, Murphyville, that's Murfreesboro, believe me, Danville, East St. Louis in Illinois, and Jackson, Illinois, and which was in Tennessee. Actually, Jackson's in Tennessee. So anyway, some of these teams I've talked about before. I don't know if I've talked about the Murfreesboro's team, which is the Royal Tigers. They were the 1902 champions of the Central Illinois area there, and then of course Carbondale and one other city there. They both had African American football teams too. So there was a lot of sports activities, and what I think that people just don't realize is that any place that there were African American community, there was good sports. And so that's the reason why baseball became king, because they were able to learn about baseball, and that was the game that everybody played. So if you haven't kind of been keeping up with me, just know that I'm giving you a legacy on baseball that you typically won't get by thinking that you know the major leagues. And of course, if you've been reading the books that I read growing up, we never learned any of that. Okay. So, all right, so let's keep it going. So, this time of year, lots of people trying to organize. So, they're doing the same thing here on February the 6th, 1914, at Dayton, Ohio, where officials meet, or they met at the local Enterprise Hotel for the purpose of organizing a baseball team for the 1914 season. And they're asking the following players to report. How about Clifford Williams, Howard Jeter, Sam Smith, Charles Lee, Joseph Johnson, Richard Sloan, William Thompson, Ernest Turner, Horace Haig, Roy Seaton, Clifford Robinson, Carl Winslow. Carl Winslow, that sounds familiar, doesn't it? Henry Vaughn, Danny Anderson, Russell Nelson, Oscar Davis, and Charlie Thompson. Now, what's interesting about that is two things that stand out for me. I grew up in an African American community, so I think I knew people by all of these first names. I knew a Clifford, I knew a Howard, of course, I knew a Sam, I knew a Charles, a Richard, a William, an Ernest, a Horace, a Roy. Let me see. I knew a Carl, that's right, a Henry, a Danny, and a Russell growing up in the African American community. So these names are familiar to me. And as I talk about them, I want them to become a little more familiar to you. All right. And so, of course, looking over this list of these ball players, I don't know how successful they were in getting that team together that year, but I can tell you, Sam Smith, who was one of the players I mentioned, and Oscar Davis, they hung around long enough to play for the Dayton Marcos in 1926, which was 9 years later. So these guys were dedicated to baseball, and they were regional stars that we don't talk about. So, all right. So, how many people know about the Dayton Marcos? They were charter members of the Negro National League in 1920. So, the Dayton Marcos. Hey guys, if you like what I'm doing here, by all means, go ahead and subscribe, and we'll keep this coming to you. Somebody said today is Babe Ruth's birthday. Do you think he had an African American blood? I tell you what, I don't know what he had. I don't waste any time on that because I've got too many ball players that I know had African American blood that I can talk about, and they don't get any ink. So some people love to throw around the names of the superstars, the names that everybody knows. I like to talk about people who maybe don't get the recognition but need to have that recognition. So definitely won't spend too much time on Babe Ruth tonight. And believe me, if you go online, there will literally be thousands of tributes to Babe Ruth. I guarantee you. But you won't see anything about the Dayton Marcos. And of course, you won't see anything about the next guy I'm about to mention. His name was S.V. Emery, and he was a former Cuban Giant player. And on February 6, 1917, he was doing the same thing, just trying to organize a team in Scranton, Pennsylvania. You heard of Scranton, Pennsylvania? We had a president that came from there, Mr. Joe Biden. Yeah. So, and he had recruited players from Harvard University in Washington, D.C., Hampton College, and Albion College in North Carolina, Lincoln University, and he wanted people to know he can be reached at 631 Cressler Court in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I always like when I see these addresses to go on to Google Earth and see what's there today. That's really fascinating to me to learn what survived and what didn't. I one time I was looking at Bruce Petway's address in Philadelphia, and sure enough, the house he lived when he played for the Philadelphia Giants is still there. Now, I wonder if the people living in that house realized that Bruce Petway lived there. I doubt it. Okay. But that's history. And that's the fun part of history, is that you can look back and you can look forward. And so that's kind of what I like to do with the history lesson here. So guys, hopefully everyone is still hanging in here with me. And we're going to go to the next fact. All right. So we're going to go to February 6, 1926. Of course, people are playing Winter League baseball. And I have George Carr poked a pair of home runs in the Royal Giants. That's the Philadelphia Royal Giants. 8-4 loss to the White Kings, and the White Kings were a soap company, and they were played a game at Los Angeles, a White Sox Park. Yeah, George Carr, great home run hitter. He was the first great home run hitter in the history of the Kansas City Monarchs. Most people didn't know that. He was a little bit ahead of Bullet Rogan as far as being a slugger. But that was George Carr, and he played for the Kansas City Monarchs 1921, 22, actually 20, 21, 22, and I think in 23, when they organized the Eastern Color League, he headed to Hilldale, and he ended up playing against his old teammates in the 1924 World Series. So somebody says, What hat are you wearing? Phil looks good. Okay, well, this is a hat. Well, um, it's one that I ordered. I was at one of the they call the 19th century baseball meetings. I was in Cooperstown, and so I like this hat because it has a short bill, and what it does is it kind of it's different than the hats we're using now because it kind of leaves your face, available for people to see, and it makes it easy when you're doing a broadcast to have a shorter bill hat. And I kind of like this one. It has no team affiliation, doesn't say anything. And I have several hats like this that I like wearing. So that's what it is. It's just a short bill hat that really comes in handy for broadcast. I would say that. So if I put my other one, it's going to be out here somewhere. And so anyway, I really like this kind of hat. So all right, the shorter bill. I need to get one that has a little more red in it so I can match this with this jersey here. This is a custom made Giants jersey I have that I'm wearing here. Let me stand up a little bit. I'll show you where it is. Kind of see custom made Giants jersey here. Yeah, so I'm always trying to adjust my camera and everything so we can see everything that I'm trying to display. And of course, I'm always trying to enhance my background. As I look at here, I can see I got a little space there. I need to put something in that space, and I do have a wonderful picture. I'll probably put it up maybe next week. All right, so let me go on back to my facts here and get this last one in. Now, I told you they're going to talk about Babe Ruth today, and no doubt about it. But most people are not going to remember this guy. Let me see if I can get it here. Okay, so he was traded on February the 6th, 1996. I don't know if you remember Tim Raines. He was traded with a player to be named later from the White Sox to the New York Yankees. And from 1981 to 1984, Raines had 4 seasons of 70 plus stolen bases. Hey, that's before they made the base larger. And he had some interesting facts. He and his son, Tim Raines Jr., actually, they became the first father and son duo in professional baseball history to play against each other in a game. And they achieved that historical feat on August the 21st, 2001, during a Triple-A minor league game between the Ottawa Lynx, that was a Montreal Expos affiliate, and the Rochester Red Wings, the Baltimore Orioles affiliate. And hey, you're making history. Why stop then? So shortly thereafter, on August the 4th, 2001, that's August the 4th, 2001, however you want to call it, they made history again by playing in the same outfield for the Baltimore Orioles, only the second father and son to play in the same major league outfield. And so, do you know who the other person was? Somebody, if you can just hit that in there really quickly, I know you know who that is. Somebody knows. Somebody says, see if I said type it in there real quick. I don't know if you can. Anyway, I'll go ahead and tell you. There you go. It was the Griffeys. Okay, I've got a real baseball fan in here. Thank you, James. So the Griffeys. Then the Raines did it next. So in the Negro League, there was a couple of father and sons that played on different teams. Willie Wells and Willie Wells Jr. Played together. Frank Duncan and Frank Duncan Jr. played together with the Kansas City Monarchs. I think Willie Wells and Willie Wells Sr., that was with the Memphis Red Sox. So, yeah, it's happened before, and it's happened a lot in the Negro Leagues. I don't know if that happened in the American and National League before these guys came along and made that bit of history. But anyway, the guys, it's been an exciting day. Like I said, I started off on Urban View this morning. And that was quite interesting. And having that conversation, it turns out that I've never called in, but the broadcaster, he's a professor at Howard University. He happened to have copies of my books, and so and they made the mistake when I called. I told him that this is Phil from Kansas City, and she thought I said Bill from Kansas City. So when he picked up the phone and I was talking, and he listened to my voice and listening to the fact that I came from Kansas City, and he said, "I know who this is." He said, "I want to blow your cover." Well, I wasn't trying to cover up. I was just trying to go on the air and have this conversation about Ken Burns. So anyway, it was a good conversation. If you ever get a chance to go back and listen to Urban View and hear that, and hopefully one of these days I'll be a guest on that program and we can have some real freestyle. Maybe we talk about some things that people might find more passionate. I know somebody wants to hear about Babe Ruth today, and usually Jackie Robinson garners a lot of conversation. I was reading some stuff on Roy Campanella recently, and of course, if you're really interested, I have books out there too. This is a book I had right here that came out during the pandemic. Okay, there you can see it right there, the Dizzy and Daffy Dean Barnstorming Tour, and has a subtitle Race, Media, and America's National Pastime. And I always tell people when I wrote that book, you didn't have to be a baseball fan to appreciate it. And of course, the Dean, especially Dizzy, had a colorful story that I always like to tell. And I was able to dig deeper into this story. And typically, what I do is I tell history, and I've been doing this for 40 years, 40 some odd years. I always tell history from a Black point of view. And so the baseball that you may be hearing could be different once I come out and tell my version of the story or what I feel is passionate to me. So it's just really interesting. And in so many places I go and speak, and I always get the feeling that people don't know the African American community as well as they think they do, because they didn't grow up in it. So if you hear about music, and you hear about uh, church, and what do you especially hear a lot about entertainment, but the Black community was much more than that. And we don't talk enough about the educators and what we're proud of in our schools and in our communities, and the harmony that was there. And a lot of that's not talked about because if you didn't live there, you're probably not qualified to even begin the conversation. So I try to bring real facts and feats that maybe even if you can't relate to them, at least you get a chance to hear from somebody who experienced it. And that is my story, and I'm kind of keeping to it. So I usually try to cut everything off before I get to 20 minutes. So let me see. Somebody say, "You're a good man, Phil. Love to take care of the gravestones of the Negro League players." Okay. Yeah, I definitely do that quite a bit. But what's really interesting, though, is somewhere in the back of my mind, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go and I don't know. Maybe next year will be the year. I have a plan, not just to take care of one particular grave in the cemetery, but the whole cemetery. The whole cemetery. Do something for all of the people, not just someone who could who could throw a baseball or kick a football. I want to do something for just the guy who's an ordinary Joe who went to work, raised his family, worked a lifetime, was a good citizen, and doesn't get any recognition. So there's a cemetery project I'd like to take on. So maybe next year I might just be able to do that, God willing, and we're going to make a difference here. And so, guys, that kind of does it for me. And I do, by the way, I do get out to a lot of cemeteries. I spend a lot of time in cemeteries, and some of my most important people, like Dink Mothel in Topeka, these were people who actually really helped me to become who I am today, not only as a human being, but certainly as person who enjoys sports and who's able to talk about it. So I have no problem going out and decorating Buck O'Neill's grave, and his wife, Aura, who was actually a great teacher in the area. She taught in Kansas City, Kansas, too, where I grew up, even though she lived in Kansas City, Missouri. Aura O'Neill, and you don't hear people talk about Aura. So she was a great lady, and many times I would call Buck, and he might be out at the ball game or out of town, and she would be there, and we'd have great conversations. She was from Memphis, and yeah, we had great conversations. But once again, those conversations aren't the conversations that the typical fan is going to even mention when they talk about Buck O'Neill. So, guys, for me, it's been a great journey, and it's not over yet. So I'm out here working and just having a time of my life here. It's been exciting. So anyway, I'm getting ready to go ahead and end this broadcast, but I want to thank you all for all of your support, and I will be back with another edition of This Day in Black Baseball History tomorrow. And I was looking ahead, and I have some exciting things that are a little different than what we have today. And hopefully, you'll be able to join me and enjoy the broadcast. And if you're picking this broadcast up, whoever picks it up later on when it's shared, by all means, go ahead and subscribe, because the more subscribers I have, that's my energy right there, and it keeps me going. So thank you, guys. You have a nice evening, and I will look forward to seeing you real soon with another edition of this ongoing conversation that we don't want to stop. Have a nice evening.